In order to ensure the security and continuing stability the Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire! For a safe and secure society!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Backstreet Salvation. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would I ever start off with some clips like that? And how in the world is that skeletor of a woman, Nancy Pelosi, even involved? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you to a little peek how sci-fi just might be reality. Now, I think you all have noticed that there are some little ramblings going on because there have been multiple searches about Ruth Bader, what is her name, Ginsburg? Yes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is that even prevalent? Why does that even matter? Well, let me just tell you this. The reason why it matters is because of what good old Nancy has said 2 months ago. It could be what is going on now. Because on that little movie clip, you have noticed that it is by an infamous, well-known movie. Now, in that movie, you already know that, well, most of you do know, that you have a clone and you have artificial intelligence, both controlled by the same individual person. Have you ever noticed who controls tech and who controls the clones, so to speak? Let me elaborate a little bit more. Let's just say we already know that the funding for Antifa and for BLM comes through, and I don't want to say through, yeah, we'll just leave it through, comes through the Democratic Party. I'm not going to actually name a name who that comes from because I do believe Fox gets rid of your, they kind of scrub you if you actually say the name. They try to say that it's anti-Semitic, even though the person that they are referring to is not even a practicing Semite, so to speak. But now, it's all about perspective. Okay. So you have tech. Do Republicans love tech? No. Who does tech really help out? Tech really helps out the radicals. They help out the left, so to speak. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side is the little clones. Now, if you have not noticed that the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, they kind of look like clones. Blue hair, orange hair, real scrawny. I mean, it is what it is. What can I say? Those are your two fashions. Which one's going to win? Which one won in that movie? It could be opposite this time. But still, same principle applies. Now, you might be saying, you are so off base, you don't even know what you're talking about. My friends, let's go to a little bit of backing. What do you say? Because I mean, hey man, you see this bad boy right there? This little bad woman right there? We're going to get more into what she represents later on. We'll do a couple videos on that. But this is our little symbol that we have. Man, Man, I love symbols. Anyways, before I get too sidetracked and all that, if you're new here, I just want to ask if you would please like and subscribe. You know, it'd be nice if you actually could, just a little bit. Just give a little motivation to me, because it's always nice. And it's something simple to do. But anyways, let's just go ahead and dive in deep and see what's going on in Twitterville, shall we? So right here is what we are doing. You type in Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Twitter, and yes, it is still very much active. Over the weekend, Friday, is when it happened, and it just keeps on piling on. I'm telling you why. Now you might want to know why this is a little bit prevalent. The reason why it is very much prevalent is because you have what Nancy Pelosi did 2 months ago. She said, hey, I had a little meeting, a regular meeting for continuance of government. Continuity, my fault. Continuity of government. Regular. Well, we're going to catch her in a little jazz to where she tries to cover that up, but she did say regular meeting. Now, why would you want to have that in the first place? 2, why are you worried about filling the seat of the Supreme Court? Because that is where it lies. If you have noticed that the Democrats really do not care about good old Sleepy Joe. Okay, they don't care that Trump's going to just pretty much knock him out of the water in a debate that's going to be coming up relatively soon. I'm not quite sure if it's this week or next week. But let's just say he doesn't stand a chance. Everybody knows this. The Democrats know this. The Republicans know this. Everybody knows this. So why, might you ask, why does this matter? Well, it's simple. Because if you can stretch out this little election, it happens November 3rd. November 3rd, we're going to find out who wins. That's how it's supposed to work. But let's say the mail-in ballots, you have to count. Now, I don't know if you remember back in 2001, I do believe it was, 2001, when you had Little Bush going against Al Gore. We had something similar to this. It's where you had to rely on voter mail-in ballots. And the Supreme Court had to settle who actually won. Yeah. So now, if you drag out this election all the way to January 21st, I do believe, now you don't have a sitting president. So then who becomes the president? Because now you have to take this little battle to the Supreme Court. And that's why Ruth Bader matters. Filling that seat matters. Democrats don't want it filled until the end of the election. Why? Because if you don't have it filled, now you have only 8 justices. If it is tied, you don't have a clear-cut winner, which means the person in succession wins. President, Vice President, Speaker of the House. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be Nancy Pelosi, because I do believe her seat is up for dibs as well. Their election is happening as well. But as we already know, Ilhan Omar, there's no proof to this, but all you have to do is just type in Ilhan Omar running mate AIDS. Just type that in. You're going to see that those aides were murked. Yes, that is correct. One of the running mates going against Ilhan Omar was murked. Mafia style. Kind of raises an eyebrow a little bit. But hey, let's just say California is pretty much in Nancy Pelosi's bag. Let's just put it that way, if anything else. So, how is this going to be possible, Christopher? You just talking, you're just talking crazy lunacy. Well, let's just find out, shall we? Let's go through and find out and raise a little eyebrow. At least do that anyways. So now, we type in Ruth Bader in the Twitter world, and we have the first thing on NPR. Supreme Court colleagues paid tribute to her in a series of statements calling her a jurist of historic stature. Right, you got some praise there. You got this whole Colin Kaepernick. Now you have Senator Ted Cruz. While Democrats have demanded that President Trump and the Senate postpone confirming a new Supreme Court justice to replace Ruth after her passing, even calling for violence from the clones. But yet, isn't tech making little robot dogs, little drones to help police all this stuff? I mean, all you have to do is just type in robot drones and drones themselves. Type it in if you will, if you want to after this video. Go ahead and do that, and you will find out just how much it really is going to be. But anyways, I just want you to hold all this in concept. Just to ride with me just a little bit down this little rabbit trail, a little bit if you would. So now, let's keep on going, shall we? We got, if you don't think death and Trump's rush to fill her Supreme Court seat could energize Democrats to possibly record election turnouts in November, you probably haven't seen what's going on in the Democratic base. Right. Let me tell you what's going on in the Democratic base. Nancy Pelosi ran the COG, and that was one of her strategies. To have this drag out. That's why they don't care about Biden. That's why they really don't care. Because that was what they were hoping on. But unfortunately, Ruth, she was supposed to last until 2021. Now, if you type in this name, you're going to find out all kinds of people just, especially from Friday, people were just going crazy about her passing. Now, let's get into the good stuff. This is from the New York Post. Alright? So let's just check this out. Why the country needs a filled Supreme Court for the 2020 election. If you don't mind the little jerseys there, I was checking out a little bit of the sports. You know, I do a little bit of fantasy, just saying. But anyways, let's check this out. I might have to blow this up a little bit for you. Yeah, let me get this going. Let me get this bad boy up here a little bit. Anyways, let's just go ahead and try it. Alright. Let me just take care of this. I might be lagging just a touch bit, so I do want to apologize a little bit. I got a couple little pop-ups coming. That is a little disconcerting to me. What we got here? We don't want none of that. Take care of that. Let's get this nice little video. There we go. I hope you can read that a little bit better. There you go. You can follow along with me. Sorry about that little delay right there. It's semi-lagging on my end. If you thought the 20,000 election was hectic for ballot officials like the one pictured above, wait until this year. By telling Senate Republicans Saturday that they have an obligation to fill, without delay, the Supreme Court seat left vacant by the death of Ruth, President Trump sets in motion a process that could dominate the remaining weeks of the presidential election. The issue will further galvanize core supporters for both sides, but if either the GOP or Democrats are looking for additional motivation, they could do worse than to shout, "Remember the hanging Chad." As battle cries go, that one might not make the blood run hotter, but should at least stir memories. Those would be the memories of the Supreme Court deciding the 2000 presidential election by settling disputes over paper ballots. Now just imagine having a mail-in ballot. Look how that's already going. Now do you see a little bit of a picture? Democrats already tried it. So did Republicans, matter of fact. A key ruling in Bush v. Gore held Florida's use of different standards for counting votes in different counties was unconstitutional by a 7-2 vote and by a 5-4. The court also said that there was no time to fix the process before the Electoral College met to certify the election. The result was George Bush won Florida, 25 electoral votes, giving him 271 to Al Gore's 266. There, my friends, is where this is going to lie. Now let's go to the continuity of government, shall we? Because we're going to try to get this going a little relatively quick here. Apologize for taking a little while for trying to clear out that lag a little bit. Continuity of government and the principle of establishing defined procedures that allow a government to continue in its essential operations in case of a catastrophic event such as nuclear war, maybe a pandemic. I mean, have you not heard rumblings of another wave coming? Oh. COG was developed by the British government before and during World War II to counter threats such as that of the Luftwaffe bombing during the Battle of Britain. The need for continuing a government plans gained new urgency with nuclear proliferation. During and after Cold War, countries developed such plans to avoid or minimize confusion and disorder due to a power vacuum in the aftermath of a nuclear attack. In the U.S., at least, COG is no longer limited to nuclear emergencies. Did you hear that? No longer limited. The Continuity of Operations Plan was activated following September 11th. Now, those little movie clips that I did for you, what year were those movies made? Might you have an answer for that one? You do know that when somebody wants to make a movie that they go and ask the government on certain subjects. Here's one for an example. Back when Rambo was being made, did you know that Sylvester Stallone, when he was directing those movies, were actually asking who should Rambo fight, that they told him to fight who? Rambo 3. Don't you think it's kind of familiar how, Afghanistan? Oh, hey, shortly thereafter, where are we at still? So, if you're going to ask the government what kind of plot you can use that would be kind of partaking to your own government, hey, now are you starting to see a little bit of a connection between Palpatine and Pelosi? Quite possibly. Now, let's go down here. We got all France, Israel, Norway, Soviet Union, Russia. Let's go down to the United States. Continuity of national government was first threatened in late 1776 when British forces advanced towards the continental capital of Philadelphia on December 9th. The Continental Congress passed a resolution in anticipation of the British capture. Resolved that in case this Congress shall be under the necessity of removing from Philadelphia, it shall be adjourned to Baltimore. The Congress was adjourned and planned 3 days later. Other relocations followed during the course of the Revolutionary War. The most of its existence, the United States operated without a standing continuity plan. When British forces burned Washington in 1814, Secretary of State James Monroe received only a few hours' notice to remove the government records, although his staff saved many valuable records, which was nonetheless destroyed, and the next administration encountered a great deal of confusion. In 1852, President Truman ordered all federal offices to develop their own continuity plans for the event of civil defense. Plans have been maintained and adapted since then, at times requiring the constant construction of secret facilities such as the Emergency Congress Facility in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. The current continuity policy is defined in National Security Policy Directive 51 and an implementation plan. The continuity plan was activated for the first time during the September 11, 2001 attacks. My. Isn't that something? So now, let's check out the Continuity of Government 2020. Background. Since the days of the Cold War, the United States has had a plan to continue the operations of government following a catastrophic attack on the nation's capital. Like a riot? Like some kind of attack? The 2007 National Security Presidential Directive 51 directs the geographic disbursement of leadership, staff, and infrastructure in order to maintain the functions of the United States government in the event a national capital is decapitated by a terror attack. So you mean they're going to have to work from home? You mean the dispersion of leadership? So now you're going to have states possibly determining what's going on, determining who their leader is? Isn't that for the military? Have you ever thought about that? Let's continue. Buried deep within a 102-page National Continuity Plan is the strategy for the mass evacuation and relocation of every federal government agency, including the White House and the military, in response to an exceptional, catastrophic event within the national capital region. Each agency is required to have a detailed continuity of operations plan in place. Notice this word, coup. If only it was coup. Shadow government. Whoa, that's a weird name for all this. Shadow government. Following a catastrophic national emergency, the president or his successor can authorize the establishment of a temporary shadow government to maintain control of the essential functions of the federal government. So you mean to tell me that his successor can authorize an establishment of a shadow government? So now, is that little movie clip starting to sound more sci-fi still? Yeah. President Bush activated the shadow government on September 11, 2001, shortly after the second attack of the World Trade Center. Every federal agency has designated key individuals to be part of the Emergency Relocation Group. These ERGs are assigned to an additional secure location on a rotating basis and are ready to take over the duty of supporting the national essential functions of the nation in an emergency. So what would be considered in an emergency? COVID? Riots? Now, you can go to whitehouse.gov1.info, and there you can find this little information, and you can read deeper into it to find out exactly how it goes. And yes, my friends, this right here is the presidential line of succession. Notice who is second in line. Right there, my friends. Speaker of the House. Because after all, if there is no election, then you can't have a vice president, so who's number two? Now, you might still think that this is a little berserk, that can't possibly happen, that they wouldn't even be plotting or even thinking about such a thing. Fine. So now, let's go to CNBC. Pelosi vows that Trump will be leaving the White House, whether he knows it yet or not. My. That's pretty much Is that a threat? That's pretty much a bold stand right there, even though you haven't had an election yet. Huh. What would give you such brass to even make that kind of statement? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that President Trump, whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving after the 2020 presidential election. Like I said, they really don't care if Biden wins or loses. This was their backup plan until Ruth passed away. Now that Ruth passed away, now they're trying to postpone that whole seat, because if you postpone that whole seat, you're going to have a draw. If you have a draw by the Supreme Court, that's never happened before. So if that's never happened before, then you're going to result to the continuance of governance. And that would go to the number 2. And during the election, we're probably going to be able to vote clear of day who all the House of Representatives are going to be. Those will probably be clear cut. The presidential election is the one that's not going to be clear cut. So now if you have the House of Representatives in a clear cut, now you have number 2 stepping up because the court system made it neutral. No clear cut winner. You even have Hillary Clinton and the Clintons all saying, Joe, do not concede. Do not. Whatever you do, do not concede. That was their plan. Except if Ruth was there, that was going to give them the sway to actually have the number 2 step in. Now that Ruth's gone, that kind of put a little sweat in her little butt crack, so to speak. So now Trump, in a Fox interview, refuses to commit to accepting the election results. He argued that mail-in voting, which some states want to expand due to the coronavirus, will rig the results. Oh, a crisis? Contention. Oh. Presumptive Democrats presidential nominee Joe Biden has said that Trump is going to try to steal the election. You know what I've been finding out? I've been finding out what the Democrats say the Republicans are doing. The Democrats are the one actually doing it. You might want to look into that a little bit. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Monday that President Donald Trump, whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. There is a process, she told on Morning Joe, refer to the presidential elections and the constitutional mechanism for putting their winner in the White House. It has nothing to do with a certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there. Imagine that. I have to see. I have to see, Trump said. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no. Now, is any of this probability yet to you? Does this kind of raise your eyebrow yet to you? Do you not think that it can happen? I'm trying to show you how it quite possibly could. Granted, it's very drastic. But when's the last time this year hasn't been drastic? They told us just to fight this pandemic for 2 weeks, was it? How long did 2 weeks turn into? So let's continue, shall we? Let's go to see what Pelosi said. Yes, let's just see what good old Pelosi had to say. Let's back this up a little bit for y'all. Now I'm hoping you can hear this, so we're going to try.
He knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line. to the presidency, and just last week I had
She's second in line.
regular continuation of government briefing. This is my
She had a regular continuance of government briefing. Notice what she just said right there. Notice exactly what she just said right there.
I interest you because I say to them, this is never going to happen. God willing, it never will.
So now, if it's never going to happen, then why would you regularly hold a COG meeting? Did you notice her big old smirk and her smile on that face? So ask yourself, if you're not going to ever have anything like that, why are you going to hold something regularly for that? Does that raise an eyebrow yet?
No, but there is a process. It has nothing to do with it. The certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there because the presidency is the presidency. It's not geography or location. So much for him. I wouldn't spend so much time on it. That's a victory for him, because then we're not talking about your first more important subject, which is what are we going to do to stop this vicious virus.
Now, did you notice that? I just want to ask you if you noticed some of those words. Did you notice that face? Do you notice how she does these hand movements? Like I said, that video clip at the very start of this, Palpatine does a lot of...
Whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving.
He does a lot of hand gestures.
He might not want.
So now, let's go to the next little batch of little thing right here. We got another one from Reuters. Pelosi says Trump will be fumigated out if he refuses to leave the White House. And as I said, why is she so bold and why is she so brazen? He might not like the outcome of the November 3rd election. Facebook, Twitter, all have a little block on you that you can't announce the winner, even after that date that you have to wait for the mail-in ballots. So if you try to say that President Trump won, or actually, technically, you could say Biden won and you won't be booted off. You say Trump won, you're probably going to be booted off Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. The tech is after Trump. The clones are after Trump. And now who keeps on doing the hand movements? Senator Palpatine, Pelosi, Skeletor. Now, you can go through and read this as well, because it's just pretty much exactly what she just said on Reuters.com. Or you can just type in Pelosi, continuous government, CNN, second in command, and there you're going to find all kinds of little give-me-ups to go check out, just to verify. And here we will type in to the Wikipedia, again, the presidential line of succession, and that will verify exactly what we already seen of who actually gets all that position. So now, do you still think that little movie clip is sci-fi? Go back and listen to what it says if you have to. You might want to watch the movie. How did the man actually come into power? And what happened? Yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try to come back relatively soon to do a little bit more quicker of a video. So I do apologize, but I do hope that you did enjoy. So, with that said, as always, my friends, I hope you are more blessed than what you deserve.